Hi guys, today we'll be presenting about our final year project titled The Human Detecting System During Landslide. Our team ID is iCRIBE24-P099. I am Haemabarathi with my registration number of 06DEM21F1016.
My name is Ugenthiran son of Chandran with metric number 06DAM21F1022.
Name is Muniyan. My matrix number is 06DEM21F1002.
I'm Samrat Naidu and Lucky Mokana Krishnan, and my matrix number is 06DM21F1004.
And we are all supervised by Mr. Ragunathan.
Let's start off with some introduction. So the main problem statement of this project is stemmed from the landslide issue in Malaysia. Back in 2022, a tragic landslide case occurred at Batangkali where at least 21 campers were dead and more were found missing. Hence, the objective of this project is to design a device to detect human after a landslide. It is also to construct a system using microwave radar sensor and MLX 90614 non-contact infrared temperature sensor. And we also want to facilitate the initiative in order to avoid the loss of life during a landslide. With that, the scope of this project is to minimize the number of dead or missing victims due to landslide. Moving on to some theory, in the Batangkali landslide event, it took about 4 days of active search and rescue operations in order to find and locate all of the landslide victims. Due to the immense loss of life, our Prime Minister gave RM10,000 to the families of those who perished in the landslide and RM1,000 to families of the landslide survivors. Based on statistics, the number of reported landslides shows an increment all the way from the year 1992 up to the year 2011, while the number of reported fatalities remains inconsistent.
Next, moving on to the survey and interview process.
He has been interviewed two persons who are firstly is Mr. Satya Seelan, who is a fire department officer, and victim named Dhanajan Ariwalakan from Camera Highland. And Mr. Satya is a firefighter with 6.5 years of experience in field, and he also involved in Camera Highland's most biggest landslide, which occurred at Simpang Pulai, and around 5 days took to found victim in second biggest landslide. And from his feedback, there is no any devices to detect human who were buried, said Mr. Satya Seelan, officer on the duty. On another hand, our victim, Mr. Dhanajan Ariwalakan, who was stuck in landslide on 10 March 2018, and he was injured all around the body, and after 1 hour of suffering, he was safely saved by a group of firefighters. And his feedback is school design a device to help detect human who are under the soil.
I would like to talk about the hardware which we use for our project, which is nano-compatible CH340 with USB cable. This Arduino Nano compatible board has mini USB cable. And another thing, we're using expansion shield for Arduino Nano, which when the Arduino Nano is used has the only one ground wire. So if we use the expansion shield for Arduino Nano, we can get all the slot with the ground setting. So it will be so helpful for the connection purpose. Alright, for the next hardware we'll use LED 5mm, which is green and yellow and red. Red we use for the power and green we use for the microwave radar sensor, and yellow we use for MLX 90614. And another one thing, we use 3.7 volt with 2000 mAh Leon battery, which is rechargeable for our project. So in this particular project we just need 12 volt only, so we use 3.7 voltage 2000 mAh Leon battery double, so it's good for our project.
Let us see to the MLX 90614 non-contact infrared temperature sensor. The MLX 90614 An infrared temperature sensor is an infrared thermometer for non-contact temperature measurements. It is an electric sensor that measures infrared IR light radiating from object and its field of view. The sensor is used to detect the presence of human temperature and used to measure the temperature of an object. Let us see to the microwave radar human motion sensor. It is a new way of detecting human body and moving object, not PIR, not ultrasound, and it is definitely not expensive and complex image processing with camera. The detecting range is less than 120 degree, the taper angle is 7 meters, and trigger mode it is repeat trigger. This microwave sensor using the waves to detect the object and consistent working in all temperature. The microwave sensor are high sensitivity that detecting motion even through the walls. Then the microwave sensor work by emitting the microwaves and detect it.
Next, when it comes to the applications that we use, we made sure to use the existing applications there are, such as Arduino IDE, SolidWorks, Automation Studio, and Autodesk Inventor.
Okay, next will be the software Arduino IDE. So we use the software Arduino IDE for done the coding for the project. So we use this Arduino IDE for plugging the code into our Arduino Nano, and this has much more version. So our version is Arduino IDE, which is easy for us to find the mistake and clear the mistake. For the design analysis data, we actually chose the original product, which is crutch walking stick. And as you can see, the first picture is the crutch walking stick, and we analysis after the assembly the crutch. We get all joint were perfect, and then we done some drop tests in SolidWorks. We also get to know that the down part has the more impact than the other parts when the stick were dropped down.
Moving on, if we take a look at the technical drawing of the human detecting system during landslide, we used the Autodesk Inventor app to draw all of the components separately and assembled them together. These are all of the components drawn and assembled.
Over here, I'd like to discuss about the software analysis. NV has been used and compared two different softwares. Firstly is Arduino IDE and second one is Arduino Legacy IDE. By comparing two of the softwares, Arduino IDE was the easier to perform codings, more additional plugins and compilers such as Adafruit for our program. And third is more easier to identify errors and give correct lines of errors with red highlight.
For the component analysis, I have to fix the component based on the wiring diagram that is shown in the figure and check whether where some troubleshoot problem when we was made some troubleshoot problem that have faced some problem by the components, and we have replaced the backup components and unworking components from the backup components, and draw the wiring and block diagram and check the details about the sensor and fix the coding compiler for the components. We choose the Adafruit and check the suitable components for this project.
Next, when it comes to the analysis on different depths and materials, we have done an analysis based on two things, which is the reflectivity and the wavelength of certain materials. The materials that we tested on are aluminium, cardboard, plastic, and copper. When it comes to aluminium, the reflectivity range is about 88% to 92% for visible light. Meanwhile, for the wavelength of aluminium, it is about an 88% perfect reflector for all infrared radiation wavelengths. Next, when it comes to cardboard, the reflectivity is about 30 to 40% for visible light. Meanwhile, the wavelength for cardboard is not typically used as a reflector for radio frequency signals. Next, for plastic, the reflectivity range is about 5% to 20% for visible light. Meanwhile, when it comes to the wavelength for plastics, it depends on the specific material and formulation because there are different types of materials when it comes to plastics and when it comes to the classification of plastics. Finally, if we take a look at copper, the reflectivity range for pure copper reflects about 95% for visible light, and for the wavelength of copper, it is about a 98% perfect reflector for all infrared radiation wavelengths. From this materials analysis, we can definitely tell that copper is the best material to reflect onto all the infrared radiations. However, due to our budget constraint, we have decided to use aluminium. Next, let's take a look at our system and prototype versions. From the pictures shown below, we can see that the first picture on the left shows the connection of the components of our system. So this is how we started up when we decided to create this product. Next up, we can see prototype version 1. So this is when we decided to put our ideas into a more realistic approach when it comes to our product. And then we created prototype version 2, where we also experimented with a thinner base at the bottom to see if we can get our accuracy on point. And finally, you can see at the top right, we have our final product of our project. Next, moving on to our prototype version, pros and cons. In this comparison, we will only be comparing our prototype version 1 with our final product. So when it comes to our prototype version 1, the pros include that 1, it was very easy to handle, and 2, it was very light. Meanwhile, the cons included that 1, it was less sensitive to human, and 2, it created a lot of false alarms. 3, it was fragile and it was very easy to break off. And 4, that it had a thicker material at the base, so our project naturally had a difficult time to detect any movement. Meanwhile, when we take a look at our final product, the pros include that 1, it has a better detection to human. 2, it was very easy to handle. 3, it has long-lasting materials and it was very strong. And 4, it was very sturdy, and we knew that when using our product, nothing bad that would happen that would make our product collapse. Meanwhile, the cons included that it was slightly on the heavier side. Next up, moving on to the marketing strategy and product sustainability. First of all, it is a need for people who face landslide issues often to have a product like this which can help them during the critical moments when facing a landslide. Next up, when it comes to the authorities, this product is needed to make the search and rescue process easier and less time consuming. Therefore, we can save more people in less amount of time. Finally, our product uses sustainable and recyclable materials that minimize the negative effects of environmental impact while conserving energy and natural resources. Next up, when moving to the industry, community, and individual requirements, this product is crucial to reduce the number of dead or missing victims. Next up, it is also easy for everyone to use and handle. Other than that, it is also cheap and affordable for everyone to buy. And most importantly, it is needed by people who are living in places which often experience landslide, such as people living in Cameron Highlands or Batang Kali and etc. Next up, when it comes to the reasonable cost of production, I would say that our product is very budget friendly and is very reasonable and affordable because we only spend a total of 161 ringgit and 41 cents for the production and the components of our project. Moving on to the product packaging. As you can see, this is how we packaged our product. We clearly used a guitar case to make sure that we can use our product and place them securely, especially when traveling. So for our project, we can assemble and disassemble it because we took into consideration that sometimes safety officers have to rescue people from a far distance or far place, so they have to travel with the safety equipments, and the best way to store this is by using a guitar case so that all of our components is safely secured. If we have a bigger budget, we definitely could have customized a box for our project. However, due to our budget constraint, we decided to use a guitar box because that is the most suitable and closest thing to our budget that we could purchase and make sure that our product is safe and can handle any sort of impact if our product was to face any sort of accidents on the way. Moving on, when it comes to the ergonomics and safety of our project, we had made sure to incorporate the usage of a junction box to keep the wiring separated. Next, it is also very safe to use because the wiring is separated from the rest of the project. Next, it also keeps people unexposed to danger. Other than that, it also uses a walking stick with a aluminium material, which is one, very lightweight, and two, it is easy to handle. Other than that, we used a forearm crutch because they are better for long-term use. The weight of the user is transferred mainly to their entire upper arms. And finally, it provides a better stability and balance. So this can especially be important for people who have difficulty with balance or coordination.
Okay, for the project safety, we have concluded that our project is safe and secure in terms of coding, and it is easy and safe to use, no failures or accident that appears. And this project is designed in a safe manner where the user or consumer will not get injured.
For the first project, we detection the human during landsliding. We using the microwave radar sensor which is MLX 90614 that detect the heat of the ambient temperature of the human. For this time, we use the whole coding program which is sensor with both sensors with non-contact infrared temperature sensor and human motion sensor. Then we also have some different design prototype, which is prototype version 1 and version 2, which is designed compared to different products with the same cost. And then use most accessibility components, which makes the cost of this project somewhere what cheaper to others.
Next, let's take a look at the impact of our project to the community. So it plays a huge role because one, it helps to save a lot of lives who are impacted in the landslide. Other than that, it also helps to save time compared to other methods such as using canine dogs or using some other type of existing project and systems. And lastly, it helps to reduce the number of lost life, which answers our scope.
Let's take a look at sustainable value. The final product will use a walking stick as handle, which is made using aluminium. Aluminium is 100% recyclable and can be recycled many times without degrading its inherent value. It also an environmentally friendly material and easily can recycle.
Other than that, the base of our device uses a custom probe made from wood. Wood can be reused as a building material and recycled into mulch for landscaping or pulp for paper production. Next up, moving on to the Sustainable Development Goals, we chose number 9, which is Industry, Innovation and Infrastructure. This is because our project develops reliable, sustainable and resilient infrastructure to support economic development and human well-being overall. That's all from us. Thank you. Next up, we'll show you the demonstration of our product in real time.